Imagine waking up next to the love of your life, tangled in sheets, heart still racing from the passion of the night before, only to find her gone without a trace. No note, no call, nothing. Just silence. 5 years pass, and you've convinced yourself she was just a ghost of your past, until one day, fate slams into you like a freight train. A boardroom meeting, a chance encounter, and there she stands, with 2 children who look exactly like you. Your children. How? Why? And where has she been all these years? If your heart just skipped a beat, then buckle up, because this story is about to take you on a roller coaster of secrets, betrayal, and a love so fierce it defies time. You clicked on this video because you need answers. Who is she? Why did she run? And what happens when a powerful CEO realizes the woman who vanished from his bed is now standing in front of him with the family he never knew existed? Trust me, by the end of this, you won't just get answers. You'll get the explosive truth that changes everything. Let's rewind to where it all began. His name is Alexander Carter, ruthless billionaire, untouchable CEO, a man who built an empire but never let anyone close enough to break his heart. Then she walked in. Emily. A woman with secrets deeper than the ocean in her eyes and a smile that could bring a king to his knees. One night. That's all it was supposed to be. But when the sun rose, she was gone, vanished like smoke. He searched. Of course he did. But some disappearances aren't accidents. They're carefully planned. 5 years later, Alexander has buried himself in work, locking away the memory of her like a forbidden relic. Until today. A merger meeting. A door opens. And there she is, Emily, standing in his conference room, poised, confident, and holding the hands of 2 children with his unmistakable piercing blue eyes. The room spins. The past crashes into the present. And the question burns hotter than hell itself. Why did you leave me? And why are you back now? But here's what you don't know yet. Emily didn't just disappear. She was running. Running from something darker than Alexander could ever imagine. And those 2 innocent children? They're the key to a secret so dangerous, it could destroy everything. This isn't just a love story. This is a fight for survival. And you, my friend, are about to witness every heart-stopping moment. So tell me, do you think Alexander will forgive her? Or will the truth tear them apart forever? Stick around because the next chapter changes everything. And trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. Alexander Carter had spent years building walls around his heart, convincing himself that love was a weakness he couldn't afford. The night with Emily had been an anomaly, a rare moment of vulnerability he'd sworn never to repeat. But now, as he stared into the eyes of the 2 children who shared his features, those walls crumbled like sand. The boardroom, usually a place where he commanded respect with a single glance, now felt suffocating. Emily's gaze met his, a flicker of fear and defiance in her eyes, as if she was silently begging him not to speak, not to unravel the fragile piece she'd built. The other executives shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension but clueless about the storm raging beneath the surface. Alexander forced a cold smile, his CEO mask slipping back into place, but inside, his mind was a whirlwind of questions. Why had she kept this from him? And why, after all this time, had she chosen now to reappear? The meeting dragged on, every second stretching into agony. Alexander barely heard a word of the merger discussion. His focus was locked on Emily, on the way her fingers trembled slightly as she flipped through her presentation slides, on the way she avoided looking directly at him. The children, a boy and a girl, sat quietly beside her, their curious eyes darting around the room. The boy, especially, had Alexander's sharp jawline, his calculating gaze. It was like looking into a mirror of his own childhood. When the meeting finally ended, Alexander didn't give Emily a chance to escape. He dismissed the room with a curt nod, then turned to her, his voice low and controlled. My office. Now. The command left no room for argument. Emily hesitated, her grip tightening on the children's hands, but she knew there was no running this time. As they walked through the sleek glass-walled corridors of Carter Industries, whispers followed them. Employees exchanged glances. Since when did their ruthless boss look so shaken? Once inside his office, Alexander shut the door, the click of the lock echoing like a gunshot. For a moment, silence hung between them, thick and heavy. Then the little girl, no more than 4 years old, tugged at Emily's sleeve and whispered, Mommy, is that him? The man from the pictures. Alexander's breath caught. Pictures? Emily had shown them. Him? Before he could process that, the boy stepped forward, chin lifted with a boldness that was unmistakably his. "Are you our dad?" The question was direct, fearless, and it shattered whatever composure Alexander had left. Emily closed her eyes, as if bracing for impact. "We need to talk," she said softly. "But not here. Not like this." Alexander wanted to demand answers immediately, to shake the truth out of her, but one look at the children, children, and something unfamiliar tugged at his chest. Protectiveness. Longing. A father's instinct he never knew he had. "Fine," he gritted out. "But this isn't over." He reached for his phone, ready to cancel his next meeting, but Emily stopped him with a sharp shake of her head. "Don't," she said. "They're watching." The fear in her voice was real, and it sent a chill down his spine. Who was watching? And what were they so afraid of? That night, in the privacy of his penthouse, Alexander pored over every detail he could find about Emily's disappearance. His investigators had hit dead ends years ago, but now with fresh eyes, he noticed inconsistencies. A withdrawn bank account the day she vanished, a one-way ticket to a small European country under a fake name. She hadn't just left him. She'd fled. Meanwhile, across town, Emily tucked the children into bed, her hands still unsteady. She had known this day would come, had rehearsed 1,000 explanations, but nothing could have prepared her for the raw hurt in Alexander's eyes. She had her reasons, good ones, for keeping the twins a secret. Reasons that went beyond betrayal. Reasons that could get them all killed if she wasn't careful. As she kissed her son's forehead, he sleepily murmured, "Is Daddy going to protect us now?" Emily's heart ached. If only it were that simple. The next morning, Alexander arrived at his office to find an unmarked envelope on his desk. Inside was a single photograph, Emily, taken recently, with a red X marked over her face. A threat. His blood ran cold. Whoever was after her had found her. And now they knew he was involved. The game had changed. This wasn't just about secrets or a broken heart anymore. This was about survival. And as much as he wanted to rage at Emily for leaving, one thing became painfully clear. He would do whatever it took to protect her. And his children. Even if it meant stepping into a war he didn't yet understand. Little did he know, the danger was closer than he thought. Because someone in his inner circle had been waiting for this moment. Waiting for Emily to slip up. Waiting for the perfect time to strike. And now, the clock was ticking. The photograph with the red X burned in Alexander's mind as he stormed through his penthouse, his usual composure shattered. He had enemies, any billionaire with his level of power did, but this felt personal. Someone wasn't just threatening Emily. They were sending him a message. Back off, or she dies. His fingers clenched around the edge of his desk as he dialed his most trusted security chief, Marcus. "I need everything on Emily's movements for the past 5 years. Every transaction, every alias, every shadow she might have crossed. And I want to know who's behind this now." Marcus hesitated before responding, his voice uncharacteristically tense. "Boss, there's something else. The security footage from last night was wiped clean. Whoever got into your office didn't just leave a note, they hacked our system. This isn't some amateur threat. These people are professionals." Meanwhile, Emily paced her small apartment, her nerves frayed. She had seen the way Alexander looked at her in that boardroom. Hurt, betrayal, but beneath it all, the same fire that had drawn her to him years ago. She wanted to explain, to tell him everything, but the risk was too great. The children slept soundly in the next room, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. She checked her burner phone for the 100th time, praying for a message from her only ally in this mess, her brother Daniel, who had helped her disappear all those years ago. But the screen remained dark. A bad sign. Daniel never went silent unless something was very wrong. Her gut twisted. Had they found him too? The next morning, Alexander made a decision that would change everything. He showed up unannounced at Emily's apartment, his presence filling the cramped space with an intensity that made her breath catch. "We're leaving," he said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You and the kids. Pack what you need. We're not staying here another night." Emily opened her mouth to protest, but the look in his eyes stopped her. This wasn't the man she'd left 5 years ago. This was a man who had just crossed a line, who was ready to burn the world down to keep them safe. "Alex, you don't understand what you're getting into," she started, but he cut her off. Then make me understand. Because right now, all I know is that someone wants you dead, and I won't let that happen. The children, sensing the tension, peered around the corner, their wide eyes darting between their parents. Alexander softened slightly, crouching to their level. Hey, we're going on a little trip. Somewhere safe. How does that sound? The boy, ever perceptive, frowned. Are the bad people coming? The question hit Alexander like a punch to the gut. How much did they already know? Before Emily could respond, her phone buzzed, a blocked number. Her blood turned to ice as she read the message. Asterisk, you should have stayed gone. Asterisk attached was a photo of Daniel, bound and gagged in a dimly lit room. Emily's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. Alexander snatched it, his face darkening as he took in the image. Who the hell is this? He demanded. My brother, Emily whispered, her voice breaking. They have him. This is my fault. I never should have come back. Alexander's mind raced. This wasn't just about their past anymore. This was a kidnapping, a direct attack on her family. And if they had her brother, they could get to her. To the kids. To him. As they hurriedly packed, Alexander made a call to his private jet crew, rerouting them to a secure estate in the Swiss Alps, a property not even listed under his name. But just as they were about to leave, Emily froze in the doorway, her face pale. Wait. How did you find my apartment? I never told you where I lived. Alexander frowned. Your file from the merger meeting had your address. Emily's stomach dropped. No, it didn't. I made sure of it. The realization hit them both at the same moment. Someone had planted that information. Someone who wanted Alexander to find her. This wasn't just a chase. It was a trap. And they had already walked right into it. Outside, a black SUV idled across the street, its tinted windows hiding the occupants. Too late, Alexander noticed it. The same vehicle that had been parked near his office the day before. He grabbed Emily's arm, pulling her back inside. We need to go. Now. But as he turned, a glint of metal caught his eye from the rooftop opposite them. A sniper. Time slowed. There was no way out. No escape. And in that split second, Alexander did the only thing he could. He threw himself in front of Emily and the kids, shielding them with his body as the first shot rang out. The window shattered. Glass rained down. And then, silence. But the bullet hadn't hit him. Confused, Alexander looked up to see Marcus standing in the hallway, gun drawn, smoke curling from the barrel. You've got about 30 seconds before more show up, Marcus panted. We need to move. Emily stared at Marcus in shock. Since when did Alexander's head of security carry a weapon inside the city? Nothing about this added up. But there was no time for questions. As they fled through the back alley, Alexander's mind reeled. Who were these people? How deep did this go? And the most terrifying question of all. Was there anyone left he could trust? One thing was certain. The game had just turned deadly. And the next move could cost them everything. The alley was a blur of shadows and adrenaline as Alexander, Emily, and the children sprinted behind Marcus, their breaths ragged with fear and exhaustion. Every corner turned felt like another gamble with death, every distant siren a potential threat. Marcus led them to an unmarked van, its engine already running, and shoved them inside before peeling away from the curb with a screech of tires. The children clung to Emily, their small bodies trembling, while Alexander locked eyes with Marcus in the rearview mirror. Talk, he demanded, his voice a low growl. Who the hell are these people, and why are they after her? Marcus's grip tightened on the wheel. It's not just her they're after, Alex. It's you. This goes way deeper than you think. Emily's mind raced as the van swerved through traffic. She had spent 5 years hiding, erasing every trace of her past, but she'd always known the truth would catch up to her eventually. The night she left Alexander hadn't been about betrayal. It had been about survival. She turned to him now, her voice barely above a whisper. The night I disappeared, I overheard a conversation between 2 of your board members. They were planning to have you killed, Alex. A hostile takeover disguised as an accident. I tried to warn you, but they saw me. They threatened to kill you and me if I said a word. Alexander's face darkened with disbelief. Who? Emily swallowed hard. Harrison and Cole. The names hit Alexander like a punch to the gut. Harrison, his longtime mentor. Cole, his most trusted advisor. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife. Marcus cursed under his breath. That explains why they've been scrambling to cover their tracks. They must have realized Emily was back, and that she could expose them. The van lurched to a stop outside a nondescript warehouse on the city's outskirts. Inside, Daniel, bruised but alive, was tied to a chair, his head lolling forward. Emily rushed to him, her hands shaking as she untied the ropes. "Daniel, oh my God, what did they do to you?" He groaned, blinking up at her. "They wanted to know where you were hiding the evidence." "I didn't tell them, Em. I swear." Alexander's brow furrowed. "Evidence." Emily hesitated, then reached into her jacket and pulled out a flash drive. "This has everything. Recordings, documents, proof of their plan to kill you and frame it as a corporate collapse. I stole it that night, but they've been hunting me ever since." The pieces were falling into place, but time was running out. Marcus's phone buzzed. A security alert from Alexander's penthouse. Harrison and Cole had mobilized their private security team, and they were tearing the city apart to find them. "We need to get this to the authorities," Alexander said, gripping the flash drive. "But we can't trust the local police. Harrison's got half of them in his pocket." Marcus smirked, pulling out a second phone. "Good thing I've got a direct line to the FBI. An old friend owes me a favor." As he made the call, Alexander turned to Emily, his voice thick with emotion. "All this time, you were protecting me. And I thought you just walked away." Emily's eyes glistened with tears. "I couldn't risk telling you. If they'd suspected you knew, they would have moved faster. And then there were the kids. I had to keep them safe." The sound of approaching engines cut through the tension. Outside, black SUVs screeched to a halt, armed men spilling out like a swarm of shadows. "We're out of time," Marcus barked, barricading the door. Alexander grabbed Emily's hand, his grip firm. "Take the kids and Daniel. There's a tunnel in the back that leads to the docks. Marcus's contact will meet you there." Emily shook her head fiercely. "I'm not leaving you." He cupped her face, his thumb brushing away a tear. "You already saved me once. Let me return the favor." Before she could argue, gunfire erupted outside, the door splintering under the assault. What happened next was a blur of chaos and courage. Alexander and Marcus fought like men possessed, buying precious seconds for Emily and the children to escape. Just as the armed men breached the warehouse, the distant wail of sirens cut through the night, the FBI, arriving in the nick of time. Harrison and Cole, realizing their plan had unraveled, tried to flee but were swiftly apprehended, their faces twisted with fury as they were dragged away in handcuffs. In the aftermath, as dawn broke over the city, Alexander stood amidst the wreckage, his chest heaving. It was over. The lies, the running, the fear. But one question remained. Where was Emily? He found her at the docks, just as he'd instructed, the children huddled close as an FBI agent secured them onto a boat. When she saw him, her knees nearly buckled with relief. "You're alive," she breathed, launching herself into his arms. He held her tight, as if he could fuse their souls together through sheer will. "I told you I'd come back," he murmured against her hair. The children, their children, watched with wide eyes before the boy, ever brave, stepped forward. "Does this mean you're staying now?" Alexander knelt, pulling them both into a hug. "I'm not going anywhere. Not ever again." But the story wasn't quite finished. As the FBI debriefed them, a final shocking revelation came to light. Harrison and Cole hadn't been acting alone. There was a third conspirator, someone so unexpected it sent a chill down Alexander's spine. His own father, the man who had built Carter Industries from the ground up. He had orchestrated the entire plot, believing Alexander too soft to run the company with the ruthlessness it required. The betrayal was a wound that would take years to heal, but for now, Alexander had everything he needed. Emily, his children, and the truth. As the sun rose over the city, casting golden light on the water, Alexander made a silent vow. He would rebuild, not just his company, but his family. The past 5 years had been stolen from them, but the future? That was theirs to claim. And as Emily leaned into his side, her hand entwined with his, he knew one thing for certain. Some loves were worth fighting for, no matter the cost. So tell me, dear viewer, did you see that twist coming? Would you have forgiven Emily for keeping such a monumental secret? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more heart-stopping stories that prove love and betrayal are two sides of the same coin. Because in the end, the greatest power isn't money or revenge. It's the choice to fight for the ones you love.